all, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. Today I have a very exciting video for you. This is my top 10 favorite franchise authors, but this is also a collab with 11 other YouTubers and I'm super excited to share this video with you. This video is part of Steve from the Lawn Gnomes 10 for 12. If you haven't heard of Steve or his 10 for 12 series, what this is a group of 12 YouTubers who are creating lists regarding their top 10. Enter your topic here. And today's topic is book related, which is really exciting, and it is our top 10 franchise authors, which I've already mentioned. I was of course super excited when Steve approached me about participating in this 10 for 12 and I was really excited for this topic, so I'd like to explain it for you a little bit more. Basically, a franchise author is an author who's written a series, but their being on our favorites list is merited on their authordom, not necessarily their series. So these aren't necessarily my favorite series, but my favorite authors who have written series. All of the other participants in this 10 for 12 will be linked down below. You definitely should check out their videos. Alright, any guesses to who author number 1 is? You can probably see it, and you probably saw it if you saw my thumbnail, but it is Maggie Stiefvater. Maggie Stiefvater has written a lot of books, and I've read most, if not all of them. She is the author of The Scorpio Races, which is a standalone novel, which I adored. She is also the author of the Shiver trilogy, which I have read this month, and these aren't necessarily the best books ever, but they're super fun and quick and addictive, so I did really enjoy them. And this trilogy consists of Shiver, Linger, and Forever, and this is a werewolf trilogy. And then we have her magnus opus. This is the Raven Cycle, and this is probably what she is most well known for, especially within the booktube community. This is a quartet, consists of the Raven Boys, the Dream Thieves, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and the Raven King. I've been very fortunate enough to have met Maggie Stiefvater, and she is so incredibly great live. She's hilarious. Maggie Stiefvater is an author who writes brilliantly and has just the most wonderful writing. It's really puts you in the mood, and it's atmospheric, and it's musical, and it's just enthralling, and I love her writing so much. Coming in at number 2, I have Samantha Shannon. If you don't know, The Bone Season is my favorite currently ongoing series. I know there is some problematic aspects to the series. I can't help but love it though. It came to me in the right time in my life and I still love it. And you know, some things just really aren't gonna change. We have The Bone Season, The Mime Order, and The Song Rising. This is the only series Samantha Shannon has written thus far. It is poised to be a 7-book series, so we're just in the middle of it at this point, but she is also going to be one of the authors in the booktube anthology Because You Love to Hate Me that's coming out this summer. She is also coming out soon-ish with a standalone novel called, I don't remember, something about the orange tree. And then of course the remainder books in this series, but I've loved everything she's written. What I love about Samantha Shannon is her world building. It's like intense but beautiful. Next up, we have one that might be considered cheating, but we're going with it, and that is Elizabeth Wein. Elizabeth Wein is the author of the Codename Verity series, which I have read the entirety of at this point. It is consisting of Codename Verity, Rose Under Fire, and then the prequel, The Pearl Thief. Now this is a companion series, which is why I say this might be considered cheating. These are loosely connected. Elizabeth Wein writes historical fiction revolving around amazing female characters as well as female pilots during the Second World War, and it's just incredible. Especially this book has a huge emphasis on friendship, and it is one of my favorite books, and the other 2 books in the series are just as good. Elizabeth Wein also has a standalone that I don't recall the title of off the top of my head. I'm holding up all the Harry Potter books. I'm doing a real bad job of it though, so I'm gonna set them down. That wasn't even all of my Harry Potter books, but it kind of destroyed this shelf, which is mostly Harry Potter books. I'm just gonna hold up these because these are the easiest to hold up right now. Of course, J.K. Rowling is gonna be on my list of favorite franchise authors. I've not read the Cornic Strike series or Casual Vacancy, so it is like kind of to say J.K. Rowling is like one of my favorite authors when I've only read her Harry Potter works, but I can't help it. I just love this world so much, and she is why this world exists, so she counts. I'm not gonna give you reasons, because if you don't know why I love Harry Potter, you probably haven't been on this channel very long. I'll link some videos down below if you're interested. And as you can see, we've kind of destroyed a shelf again, is Lauren Oliver. Lauren Oliver is not actually very beloved in the booktube community, but I love her so very much, and I've had the immense pleasure of meeting Lauren Oliver, and she's fantastic. Out of all of these books in my hands, only 2 are series, and I've only read 1 of the series. and it's my least favorite thing in this pile of books. So let's discuss. What classifies Lauren Oliver as a franchise author is her writing of the Delirium trilogy, which consists of Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem. This is a dystopian trilogy in which love is a disease, and our main character is about to have the surgery that removes part of your brain that makes you fall in love. And right before that surgery happens, she ends up falling in love. I do really like this trilogy. It's a fun time. I don't think it's the best thing ever. The ending is less than particularly satisfying, but I did really enjoy the journey. However, this trilogy is my least favorite thing that Lauren Oliver has written, and when I met her, these were the books I decided not to have signed. Lauren Oliver is also the author of Panic, a novel about teenagers doing crazy stunts for money. It's a thrill ride, and it's fun. And that's, I think, a thing about Lauren Oliver's books is they're just a lot of fun. This is a prime example of that. Also have Lauren Oliver's Rooms, which is her foray into adult fiction and follows a bunch of ghosts living in a house. It's a huge character study. I really enjoyed this as well. We also have two books I have not read of Lauren Oliver's, Vanishing Girls and Replica. Replica is the first book in a series though, so yay, another franchise. However, the book that solidifies Lauren Oliver as one of my favorite authors is Before I Fall. I actually just finished today rereading this book. But Lauren Oliver is great. She's fun. She's a fantastic human being. Next up, we have one of my favorite authors. Again, an author I've been privileged enough to meet. I'm a very fortunate human being. This author is none other than Rae Carson. If you have not heard me gush about Rae Carson, you also probably haven't been on this channel very long. Welcome. Rae Carson is my favorite author. She's fantastic. This is the Fire and Thorns trilogy consisting of Girl of Fire and Thorns, The Crown of Embers, and Bitter Kingdom. This is a trilogy surrounding our main character, Alyssa. Alyssa is an overweight princess who is married off for political advantage. Alyssa is then kidnapped and goes on a quite literal journey. It's a huge character growth story, and I just love the series to pieces. I think it is fantastic, has wonderful representation, and Rae Carson is just a gem of a human being. Rae Carson is also the author of the Gold Seer trilogy. First two books in the series are out, which consist of Walk on Earth a Stranger and Like a River Glorious. This chronicles our main character, Leah Westfall, who is living in the South in the middle of the American Gold Rush. She has the ability to sense gold, which makes her very valuable during this time period, and she ends up having to flee after a tragic incident. And when she flees, she heads west in search of some gold. So the first book chronicles her journey to, hopefully, California. Next up, I'm going to be talking about Alexandra Bracken. Alexandra Bracken is the author of the Passenger duology as well as the Darkest Minds trilogy. I love the Darkest Minds trilogy. It is one of my favorite dystopians of all time. In this dystopian society, we have a world that has been ravaged by disease and it is affecting children. Most kids are dying, but those who survive contract superpowers, and these children are basically wrestled up into concentration camps. Essentially. It's super dark. I mean, it's called The Darkest Minds, so. But it's so good. It's fantastic. Passenger duology is about a girl who finds out she is part of a time-traveling family, and she ends up time-traveling, and it's great. What I love about Alexandra Bracken's writing so much is that it's so descriptive. It also makes for a really good time-traveling story in which we're going to places we've never been, but also places we'll never be because they're in different time periods, and she paints such a fabulous picture. Next up, we have an author I actually don't own any books by, and I've actually only read one of their series. I haven't read anything else by them, and that series is a graphic novel. The one I am talking about currently is Joe Hill, who is the author of the Lock and Key graphic novel series. This is one of the best graphic novel series I've ever read. It is so good. This is a horror comic, and it is just freaking fantastic. This chronicles the Locke family after a tragedy strikes. They move across country to an old family house. Within this house, we find a bunch of keys that open a lot of doors, that do a lot of paranormal things. Things get crazy and weird and fantastic, and I love the series so much. Next up, let's go with that other graphic novel series author. I think you gotta know who this is. Did you guess Brian K. Vaughan? Because then you'd be right. Why the Last Man? It's kind of dystopian. This is a world in which a disease has killed off all of the men on the planet, except for Y. Ampersand and Yor, which is what Y stands for, are on a journey to figure out why they are the last men alive. And so while this follows a male protagonist's journey. It is in a world that is completely female dominated, and it is so interesting and I love it so much. I've also read the start of Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan, as well as Runaways by Brian K. Vaughan. Paper Girls chronicles a group of paper girls who find some paranormal and creepy things out on their paper route. That's about all I'll tell you about that. And Runaways is about a group of teenagers who find out that their parents are supervillains and decide to run away. However, what Brian K. Vaughan is probably most known for, especially within the booktube community, is the Saga series. Saga is a very Romeo and Juliet in space kind of story. This is about opposing species who are amidst an intergalactic war, and their species are fighting against each other. They end up running off, getting married, and having a kid, but then they're on the run, and it's just fantastic. However, my favorite Brian K. work is not his franchises. It's his only piece of standalone work, and it's the best graphic novel I've ever read in my life, and it is Pride of Baghdad. In 2003, there was an actual and real American raid in Baghdad that ended up blowing up part of a zoo and releasing a lot of animals into the wild. So based upon that real life story, Brian K. Vaughan wrote The Pride of Baghdad. This chronicles a group, a pride of lions who have escaped the Baghdad Zoo, and it's their story of what happens after they leave the zoo. So it's definitely like an animal story. It's their thoughts and stuff, so it's not real, even though it's based on a real story. But it's so emotional and I love it so much. And honestly, this is like some of the most beautiful art ever. My last favorite franchise author is Rick Riordan. If you don't know, Rick Riordan is the author of the Percy Jackson series, as well as the Heroes of Olympus series, as well as the Tales of Apollo series, as well as the Magnus Chase series. All he writes is basically franchises, but the ones that I've read are all fantastic. I've read all of the Percy Jackson series, as well as all of the Heroes of Olympus series. I have not read any of Magnus Chase nor the Trials of Apollo, but I'm hoping to get to them soon. Rick Riordan deals heavily in mythology. Trials of Apollo, Percy Jackson, and the Olympians, as well as the Heroes of Olympus, all deal heavily with Greek and Roman mythology, and Magnus Chase deals heavily with the Norse mythology. And these stories are so much fun. They're middle grade, but they are just the funnest. That is all for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. I hope you are looking forward to watching 11 more videos about franchised authors, because there are links in the description bar for everyone else participating in this 10 for 12. If you enjoyed this video, you should give it a thumbs up because that is fantastic. You should also subscribe, especially if you're new here, and comment down below and let me know who your favorite franchise author is. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!